Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia video, and today we are taking on this pesky Onion Knight FR Shinryu fight, and this actually is a 6-man fight against Cloud of Darkness, who has a truck ton of HP. Like, I think she's got 280 million HP. It's a lot of HP, right? And this fight is a very troublesome fight if you don't bring the right team. And it did actually take me a fair amount of teams or tries with the setup I'm doing, and I was just very stubborn. I wanted this setup to work, and I finally, through enough trial and error, kind of got it set up the way I want to. Now I'll say, if you want easy mode on this, I did a run right after this with Core, Gladio, and Celis, and pretty much just used them the whole time, and it was fine. It was cake. It still takes a while. It's a long fight. I believe in that rerun fight I did, I think I did it in like 42 turns. This one's, I think, takes me like 52 turns. But it's fine. You get 80 turns to get it done, right? So I'll kind of explain my philosophy and my team build here. And I've kind of found a new favorite character to bring the 6-man fights, and I'll explain that, and we'll see that in action. Another thing, too, I'm going to talk about is when this fight started up, Cloud of Darkness starts by putting a blind on everybody. A trick that I do here, I forgot to do it with Maria and Celis, but I did do it with Minwu. I was just kind of getting so frustrated with the fight, I'm just pounding through keys. But what you want to do is you want to either use you want to pop the AA. So when you pop the AA right away, that one-turn blind just falls off, and then you get your AA buff, and then you just act again. So when Cloud of Darkness puts that blind on, you want to do that. Now here with Celis, I attacked with the blind anyways, and I got lucky that, like, 2 of the enemies got hit, right? But normally what I should have done there was I should have used the AA, let the blind fall off, and then attack. So basically my team build here is I really wanted to focus on, I pretty much set up 2 teams. I've got a Maria FR setup, and I've got a Rydia FR setup. Now the way this works is the adds with Cloud of Darkness, she's got phases, right? So this first phase, the adds cannot be killed, and the adds do not attack. They only buff. So this is why someone like Maria and Minwu, and this is why the Maria Minwu Celis setup works so well here, is because whether the adds attack or not, they're going to trigger the traps just for taking turns. So we get a lot of trap triggering here, which I really, really like. Which is why if you do Gladio Core, you put Celis in there, because then her traps are always going off, right, in that setup. So what's going to happen is you have to take down Cloud of Darkness to the first threshold, which is 79%. This is probably one of the longer. This is probably the part that takes the longest, is just getting the first 79%. She's got, like, physical damage reduction. It's hard to do a lot of damage to her. The adds aren't attacking. She can't get, like, counter damage like with Gladio and stuff. So this part of the phase is a little bit of a slog. What's going to happen when you hit 79, she's going to destroy the adds, immediately resummon them, and then they go into attack mode where they, like, attack a lot. Now when they're in attack mode, then somebody like Gladio will start to cook and do a lot of damage. And you can see there, we took a lot of damage from the insulating appendages. So the reason why it took me so many tries with this team setup, it's not that the team is bad or anything for that. This is actually a really excellent team to take on this fight. The problem is there just isn't quite enough mitigation, and it almost seems random. Like, sometimes the appendages do 0 to me, sometimes they do like 1,000 damage, and sometimes like that they do like 10,000 and darn near kill me. And what was happening in a lot of my runs was I would be riding really smooth, and then all of a sudden, just later in the fight, one of those just randomly one-shots my rotation. It just made me so angry, right? But I did get I finally, like, fine-tuned the fight to the point where, like, I just get through the first FR, and then I basically set up a way where I just can't die in the second half with this team setup. Whereas if you bring Celis, Gladio, and Core, it's a lot less brainless. Like, you just, like, with the mitigation, because you got Oath of Absolute Defense, and then you've got Gladio, and then Celis has mitigation, like, that team just did not take damage. Like, the whole fight, it was just brainless. So if you want the easy way out, like, take that team for sure, right? But I thought this team was fun. I really like Maria, and I like Rydia. So let me talk about my bench players here. So my bench players here is we've got pretty much Rydia and Edge. And Edge is really integral to the way I operate this fight, because if you're not running enough mitigation where those appendages can kill you, you need to be able to, like, dodge out, right? So essentially what I do in the second half of the fight is I'm going to end up bringing in Edge and pretty much try to upkeep his party-wide dodge, comboing that with Rydia's LD to just, like, make sure we don't get touched. Is pretty much how we get through the second half. And so basically, like I said, I'm bringing a Maria team setup, which is what you're seeing here, Minwoo, Celis, and Maria. And then my Rydia setup is Rydia, Edge, and Minwoo. So Minwoo is actually going to be on both setups. So my extra slot character here is, and this is my favorite 6-man fight character, is Enna Kros. So Enna Kros, the way you want to think of Enna Kros, she's like your pinch hitter that's going to come in the bottom of the 9th inning and hit a home run. That's the way you use Enna Kros. So what it is in a 6-man fight is whatever FR is your main FR, doesn't matter what it is, you go till you're on the last turn and you're at 999%, you can just swap into Enna Kros, hit that home run shot for like 20 to 40 million, and then get her out of there and set up for the next FR, and then you pinch hit her again. So I think I do 2 Enna Kros shots in this fight, because I do 2 like main FRs, and I think the last one I just kind of beat him at the end. Maybe I do Enna Kros like 3 times. I might do 3 Enna Kros pinch hits. But I think Enna Kros, to me, if you built her up, she's almost a 6-man fight staple if you have room for it. Because literally you just get that gauge as high as possible and she just comes in for that home run shot. And it works out really well, right? And we time it particularly well in the fight where we can hit Enna Kros when Cloud of Darkness isn't mitigating damage, which is like the best time to do it. So essentially all I'm doing here for this first half is I'm just letting Maria, Minwoo, and Celis kind of just take care of this first phase. Now, something that happened very early in the fight, I was kind of talking through it, but it kind of a sneaky thing I did that you may not have noticed was, I think it was whoever went first, what I do with Edge is I bring him in immediately, and Edge has a Shulk call on. And Shulk's call will immediately charge his EX gauge, because his party-wide dodge comes from his EX. So what I did with Edge that was very sneaky early on, because, you know, what this enemy does too is they make it so when you take any action that you get delayed. Well, like right away in the fight, like very early, you don't get delayed. So what I do is like character 1, turn 1, I think I use the AA to get the blind off, and then I swap into Edge, and then I have Edge come in and pop his call, which is the Shulk LD, which immediately charges his EX, and then I just swap back to whoever my first character is. And now Edge right now is sitting on my bench, EX fully charged, ready to give me party-wide evasion whenever I want it, right? It's just on demand, I can bring him in, and I've got it set up. So that's kind of what I do there. So here we finally get to our first force time. Now you can see, we only got 5% killed off the enemy that whole time, right? And it's because she has so much HP and she's mitigating some damage early on. Now that we can get our FR cooking here, and it builds up fast. These enemies are very aggressive. They delay you. Cloud of Darkness has framed turns. They have high turn rate. They put speed down on you. You can see my whole party is speed down right now. So they really, like, this fight, like, is just screaming, like, passive defense comp. There are more aggressive comps you can take. Another comp that is very popular for this fight is like a Dorgan Sephiroth setup. Because when you're doing so much breaking, and then you could bring like Core or even Gladio to that. And then like if you're doing like off-turn breaking, like Dorgan's like countering like crazy, the enemy's Brave is getting reset to 1. Like that team would be pretty nasty. I might almost try that for myself just as another fun run if I have time. The thing with this fight, this is a really long fight just to casually do fun runs, right? So pretty much the only attempts I did on this fight was at trying to figure out the way to get this particular team set up through effectively. And once again, it was all just about timing when I get Edge in with the dodge and just making sure I don't take the appendages at the wrong time when I get one shot. But then I only did one other clear of this, and the reason why is you guys will notice in my team setup there's no Onion Knight to be found, and to get the extra, if you have Mog Pass, you get an extra 30 tickets if you can get this done with Onion Knight on the team. So what I did was I said, alright, I'll do the super easy setup, so I did Celis, Gladio, Core. I put Onion Knight as one of my bench slots, never brought him in. And then I used Enna Kros back there for my home run shots, and that's basically what I did, that pretty much same setup. And then got through the fight, never brought Onion Knight in, still got my 30 tickets. So I did sneak in and grab that. But once again, it is a very long fight to just like casually retry, especially if you don't have a lot of time, which I don't. Which is why I should also explain why it's taken me so long to get this video uploaded and onto YouTube. I'm very busy during the week, and when this fight takes multiple attempts, each attempt of this fight was like 30 to 35 minutes. Because that's usually about the point where I would get one shot. It was like really deep into the fight. It was very frustrating, right? So, you know, on any given night, I don't have a ton of free time. So I can only get 1 to 2 attempts in per night. So throughout the week, I have just been grinding this thing until I finally got it timed with edge how I wanted and having that Rydia up. So here's the thing. Primarily, Maria FR is what you want to use here because when the ads aren't attacking, counter setups don't work as well. However, when Cloud of Darkness resummons the ads in attack mode, Rydia FR works really good there. Because then all of the ads are attacking, you're getting a dodge every turn, and you're getting 50%. Rydia's is pretty much just as effective as Maria's when they are in that mode specifically, but you have to time it right so that you're in Rydia's FR at that time. I'm pretty sure what I ended up doing on this run was I just went back-to-back Maria FR. I think that just worked out fine. And the really nice thing you can do here is, to me, the one character that can be swapped out, because what I have to do eventually is swap out a character for Edge, right? And so for me, the one character that was the swappable one was Celis, because Maria has to be there for her own FR, otherwise you can't increase the gauge. Minwoo has to be there with his BT effect up to keep getting the double Holy Anchor. So to me, Celis was the one that made sense. But what you can do with Celis is, as long as her traps are on, she doesn't actually need to be on the field to trigger them. So what happens later on is I can swap out Celis for Edge, have Edge proc party-wide dodge. Now you have to keep Edge in the party because it's a buff on himself. So Edge stays in while Celis' traps still go off. It's a really beautiful combo. I really like the way it worked out in this video. It just took me a couple tries. Once again, when you're not running that like invincible core Gladio Celis setup, you have to think a little bit more and time some of your mitigation, and that's what I had to do in this video. You saw me already very early on. I almost bit the dust. Like, that's those insulating appendages, they can just one-shot you, right? So we can just watch as we go through. But the other thing I like about this setup too, and why Celis is so integral to, I think, both setups, is her off-turn healing. Obviously, I've got triple off-turn healing here, but if you're running the core Gladio setup, like, Celis is your primary healer, so you need that, right? Obviously, you could just bring someone on the bench to spot heal. You can bring calls to spot heal, like, not a problem. But yeah, I really like the setup. I think what I did too, because I didn't really need that 6th slot when I did core Gladio in Celis, I really, because then what it was I had Enna Crow for a slot, and then Onion Knight had to be there for the tickets, and then the last slot I really didn't need anything, so I actually brought Vanille, because Vanille's very good to just, if she wants to come in and just wipe the buffs really quick, and her trap's actually pretty good too, because her trap will pop, and then that'll get rid of buffs that are on them as well. So if you time Vanille right, and do it at a time where they're not going to rebuff, or like right after you kill the buffing ads, Vanille can be really good. Her call was pretty good here too in some situations. I think Balthier could work, but once again, you can't try to dispel their buffs like right now, because literally the ads every turn are just reapplying. So you have to do it after the first phase. So finally, we're pretty close to getting Cloud of Darkness past the first threshold. It's taken us a while, right? We're turn 13. We are going to, like I said, I think this ends up being a 52-turn run. So it takes a while. It's you can see by the playtime, we're looking at a 45-minute video here. But that's just what this fight is. I think it's fun once in a while to have a fight like this. The one frustration that I have, I think the difficulty of this fight is fine. It's proper. It's good. You can beat this with multiple setups. I don't have an issue with it like I do. The Spiritus Tree I had way more of an issue with, because that was just so geared towards Sid Reigns that it was ridiculous and it was way too restrictive. This fight's a good balance because it's difficult, but I wouldn't say it's like as restrictive. I think you can be creative and get through this with a lot of team comps. The problem that I have with a fight like this, though, is just that when you have a fight that's so long, it's frustrating when you die really late in a long fight. So I wish if they wanted the fight to be long like this, I kind of wish they just split this up into 2 waves. And then, like, wave 1 could be 15 minutes and wave 2 could be 15 to 20 minutes. That way, then, if you die on wave 2, you could keep retrying wave 2, and it wouldn't be nearly as much of a slog, right? But we got there. We got through. So the other thing that happens on the 79% threshold is you are going to get party-wide confused. Which for this setup, and when we still had 6 turns of force, didn't really matter. We'll take our HP plus attack, still does pretty decent damage, but the traps all still trigger. So you have to be careful of when you're running like a counter setup like with Gladio, because if Gladio gets confused, then he cannot counter, right? Whereas the traps will still operate. So it's really important in either comp. That's another reason why Celis is important. The other thing that happened is because the ads were destroyed, they get summoned back and they lose all their debuffs. So we do have to reapply traps. So the one really bad part about the confuse is it takes forever, because all my characters have to get 2 turns before I can reapply traps. So I've got to wait. We've gone through one confused with everybody. So now it looks like it's going to be Minwoo, Maria, and then Celis, depending on what the enemy does for delay, right? So you can see they did a little delay there. We love it, because it just gives our traps more times to pop off. We are going to hit max 999 here, and that helps us get through the phase a lot quicker once we get that gauge up. And really, it's just wait till you get to that last turn. We pop Brother Summon for big damage, and then we pop the Enna Crow home run shot, and then we kind of just set up for the next FR and get it going again. Now, the other thing with this setup is we do want to use Minwoo's BT phase. So what's going to happen is when Minwoo's BT effect runs out, somewhere in between when we're maybe like ramping up and charging for the next force, we will pop Minwoo's actual BT phase. May not do a lot of damage, but we're really doing it just to reapply his BT effect, and then also give us some time to just charge up the gauge. Now, Cloud of Darkness is about to hit their force time, like as soon as we pop out of ours. So we just want to make sure we're ready to go for that, right? Because Cloud of Darkness is going to start off with a pretty powerful attack. They could steal turns. They could like one-shot you right out of their force time. But they do go through their force time very quickly, because it only lasts 3 turns. And as you can tell by the fight that you've been watching, they take a lot of turns. So I was just double checking my LD to see if it reapplied the trap, and it doesn't. It only extends it back to 6. So we have to use Holy here to get the traps back on. I wanted to use the LD for bigger damage, but that was fine. Definitely good enough damage there, and reapplying the traps was too important. So now they're going to do Bad Breath. Celis will absorb. We'll take a debuff. That's fine. As long as we're not taking more blinds or confuses here, right? You only take the blind or confuse on the threshold attack, so we're good. And I did bring, like, you can see Setzer was another call that I brought just in case. Actually, I think Cater and Setzer were both calls that I had on hand here just for the freeze debuff, because that can also shut down the damage. But once again, I think the problem with doing, like, a freeze debuff or, like, Rydia is that the enemies take so many turns, they just burn through it, like, instantly. That's why, to me, Edge was key here, because Edge has it as a 2-turn buff. And as long as Edge isn't taking turns, you're invincible. Like, you cannot take damage. You cannot be hit. So that's why Edge was just so good for this setup, to just make my party safe without having to use Core and Gladio here, right? So you can see we're at max force gauge. So it's time to, the manager is going to make a call to the bench here. And we've got somebody waiting to come in. It's you know, we'll say it's like middle of the game right now. We're about the 5th inning, but we got bases loaded right now. So we need somebody to come in and hit us a home run. So I think we got to call in our big bopper off the bench here. And this worked out perfect, because now that the ads are dead, Cloud of Darkness has no defense. So let's bring in our pinch hitter, Enna Crow. And Enna Crow is just going to drop, well, we're going to drop a summon first, because that will not extend the force gauge, or it won't take away a turn. 18 mil. So Brothers comes in and slaps down an 18 mil shot. And then sure, let's drop down an Enna Crow LD here. Loving this. Loving this, and she's going to drop down 27 mil, sure. So we just popped through down, like, what, over 40 mil in that last turn. So you can see, now all of a sudden Cloud of Darkness down to 41, we passed the threshold, now we've got the passive ads back. So now what I pretty much do is I'm still just resetting up for another Maria Force, because I still want to keep the trap set up. Now, the nice thing, too, is that we're in Summon, so we get time to circle back to Enna Crow. This is the other reason it's nice. Because what can happen is if you don't have this and you go to Enna Crow's a pretty slow character. So you could get caught where the enemy can take, like, a bunch of turns and kill you before you can get your proper setup back. So that's the really nice thing following this up with the Summon phase. So now I can kind of decide. So yeah, I'm like, let's just get Edge in here now. And, like, let's not play around. Because I know Cloud of Darkness also is about to hit a force time. So I'm like, let's pop Edge here. And now I'm like, whew, we're safe, right? Edge has that 2-turn buff. Unfortunately, Edge had like quick turn rate there and like hop turn. So unfortunately, we're going to burn 1 turn of it. I realistically should have waited another turn before I popped that EX. But I just really wanted to be sure it was up. And the enemies are going to come up. They're going to start to delay. I can always bring in Rydia to pop hers if I need to. But let's get Celis back in. And now I'm thinking reapply traps here. So let's get Freeze Dive on. Reapply all of our traps, because that's going to be key to getting our force gauge back up the second time. And you can see, by the time we're done, ramping out of this with the summon and everything, like, we're already over 60%. So at this point, it's like, yeah, I could just pop like a Minwu burst phase and we're basically there again and ready to go. Now, I'm pretty sure I let Clouded Darkness run through their Force Time first. I kind of want to just get that done and out of the way here. And yep, we do Holy. We want to apply the Holy Anchor Traps. So now we're pretty much set up again. I think we're missing maybe Maria traps at this point because Maria's like not on the field right now, but I just really had to get Edge in there, right? And so there we go. Now they're just going to miss. And here's the thing. Edge counters are going to come in and apply some really nice damage here also. So, I don't know. Edge was kind of like one of my secret MVPs here. I really liked him. And I did. I went ahead and Force Enhance 30 him. With the Light of Hope item, I bought 3 Force Stones and was able to Force Enhance 30 him, which I really liked that investment. I thought it was good. Glad I did that. Now, in that video, I did recommend Force Enhancements, but I forgot to mention that you do need character points for those to make sense, those 4 stones. So yeah, if you don't have character points, definitely get the ultimate cores or just grab a character you need, right? Okay, so yeah, just like that, they're already done with their Force Time. And look at that, we're at 93%, so we're ready to go. So, Edge is up, we use Inferno here. Now, I think what happens is yeah, Edge now, we do not have party-wide dodge. So now I'm like a little bit afraid. Because the enemies are about to start taking turns again. We don't have party-wide dodge. So I'm trying to remember if I went Minwu Burst here. Or if I swapped out. I think I went Minwu Burst here, did I not? I'm definitely thinking about it, right? Yeah, so I just decided to go Burst Phase here. It doesn't really change much, but we're just like praying when we come out of this that we don't instantly get killed. The nice thing is, though, is like Celis potentially would still be absorbing. I think her BT effect is still up. So I think on Insulating Appendages, Celis would still absorb that. And then Edge has his own dodge up, right? So Edge would dodge. So I think even if Minwu like was the only one to really take Brave damage, I think we would survive anyways. So I think I'm okay with that. And because I know we're coming into a Force Time here, I want to get Minwu's BT set back up. So we just go through all Minwu's attacks here. And we get through that. Alright, I'm going to take a drink here. This is a long video. Long video. Now, if you guys use any interesting setups that I haven't talked about, let me know in the comments. I want to see like some other cool team builds people have done for this, but the main ones I've been seeing is like something like what I'm doing here, or like I think the core Gladio Celis is once again the safest one, and then a lot of Dorgan setups, right? Dorgan Sephiroth, and then insert your third character that can off-turn or break a lot or whatever to make Dorgan go crazy. I think that those are the type of setups. I think Gladio kind of makes sense in there just to help keep you safe, but yeah, there's probably some other cool, fun, creative setups people have done. All right, so we're getting her low now. We're at the 39% threshold. And then Minwu, yep, we're going to finish off with this. Refresh the BT effect. And then I just got to pick the right spot to bring Maria back, right? So I'm thinking I might actually... I'm trying to think. Do I bring her in? I either bring her in Celis' spot or Edge's spot. Because where's Edge's... Oh, no, Edge has his EX up. So what's going to happen here is I just want to survive this. And luckily, she did Uncanny Beam, so we were good there. That was the one turn we were a little bit susceptible to damage. Now, Edge here, I believe I'm going to EX. And Celis, I think, still has Freeze Dive up, or enough of it up. So I think we just go EX here. And then Celis, we swap into Maria, and then go into Maria FR from there. I believe is what I did. That's what I'm thinking now, watching it back in my head, but that maybe isn't what I did in the moment. I thought about it a little bit, but I'm like, yeah, we need Blitz Mirage up. We need that sucker up. Alright, so now we're safe again. We cannot be hit. The other thing that's really good about having Blitz Mirage up is that, and I'm checking to see where I'm at for, see like on Clouded Darkness, I don't have the freeze traps up, right? So so I did decide to opt to reapply it and then wait for her to come around again. So I am stalling out. I could have hit the Force a lot earlier, but I really wanted to reapply the Freeze Dive, which makes sense, right? Now we're going to dodge out. That's something that probably would have one-shot me had I not had the dodge on, right? Edge is still doing nice counters, so we're still getting some nice damage in here. I'm taking it just a little bit slower, but you can see, like, Celis is just, like, non-existent on the timeline there, the turn counter. So it's like, when the heck is Celis coming back? It takes us a while to get back to it. Yeah, and then they're doing all their buffing and stuff, but we got our ice blocks back, which I really wanted. The thing is it probably wasn't super important because, like, we're about to hit the threshold. Those enemies are going to die and lose their ice blocks anyway. So there's definitely, like, some cleaner things I could have done here. And I definitely make a mistake on my second Enna Kro pinch hit. I'll talk about that when it happens, but it still worked out fine, right? Alright, so I decided to Inferno here, keep Edge out. I maybe would have been safe there to go to Maria and then wait, but yeah, I decided to play safe. But look how long it takes Celis to come back. That's why Celis's BT effect just lasts forever. Like, she's still on her first BT effect. She still has 4 turns of it even, which is kind of crazy. But the bad part is the longer I'm not going into Maria's FR, the more I'm wasting Minwoo's BT effect. So I really got to get that Maria FR up soon, right? Now what happens here is on the next turn, I'm pretty sure, you know, Edge's buff is going to fall off, and I don't think I can reapply it. So I think I may have swapped Edge for Maria here, is maybe what I did. Because I see that there's no Cloud of Darkness attack coming immediately after. And then I could always swap back to Edge or Rydia, like, later on with, like, Celis, right? So my gut feeling was that I did swap Edge out here, but we'll see what I actually did. Once again, watching it, this was a long fight, so I definitely don't remember every little step of the way here. Okay. But yeah, the traps are still working their magic. We just don't have the FR. And look, they're almost up to their next force time, right? So we kind of let that drag out a little bit because we could have had it like really early on. So let's see. Do I go Maria here? I'm pretty sure I do. Yeah, let's get Maria back out. Come on, past me. Grab Maria. Let's go. Yep. Oh, no, I went Rydia here. Okay. So I was just worried about dying here. So I did say I kind of wanted to do the spot Rydia LD. So that's what I did there was Rydia. But here's the thing. Rydia gets a free turn off of this. So then Rydia, she's going to get delayed a turn. But now Rydia's back up. Now with the Rydia buff up, now I go to Maria is what I did. But yeah, see, I just wanted to make sure. Like, I wanted to be super careful because they are very aggressive right here. Okay. Now I'm pretty sure it's Maria time. Because then I know I've got enough, like Maria herself won't have dodging, but if there's like enough dodging, we won't take that much damage, right? So now, yeah, now it's Maria time. Now we go into FR. And FR does apply her traps, right? And then she's got Explosive Bow ready. So we definitely want to get Explosive Bow up as well. So now we throw this down, and now we can let the enemies just raise their gauge. And they're in the middle of their force time, but I don't really care. Like, they're just as aggressive as they always are, so it doesn't really matter here. Their force time is going to be over, like, lickety-split anyways. And then, yeah, now we're just off to the races on the second force time. I do think I end up using 3 force times here. The timing didn't work out as well on this one for like when Enna Kro came out and the amount of damage we did. So the enemies had a little bit, but then I think I do like 1 Rydia FR at the very end and we clean it up is pretty much what we do. Alright, so now I decide to get Edge back out like a little bit early because I need to get his EX built up, right, and get him going. So I think I reapply Smoke here just to make sure he's got his own dodging up. Or do I do Inferno? No, I don't think I do Inferno here because the gauge isn't very high. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just do Smoke here. Put some locking down. The locking does eat up a debuff slot, which kind of stinks, but we're good with it. And then Minwoo, I believe we need to get Holy back up. Yep, for sure. Get those Holy Anchor Traps going. And now we're starting to feel a little bit more set up, right? Because now we've got at least Maria and Minwoo's traps. I think there's some Ice Blocks still out there also. So this is kind of like the team I wanted to settle on, right? And you can see there, Maria almost bit it, right? Like, everybody dodged except Maria, and we still almost died there. So that's why, I needed to upkeep this Edge dodge. It was just crazy, because, like, had I not had all that set up, we would have just gotten one shot there in the middle of our own force time. Just such a pain. And that maybe, too, is exemplified because Cloud of Darkness wasn't in her force time. Is probably why we took more damage on that. So now, That was a little scare there. I was a little bit worried. I was going to be so mad if I had died there. But yeah, Maria instantly heals back up because we're just dropping all the heal traps. So the thing with this team build, as long as you don't get one-shot, you're pretty hard to kill. The problem is this fight can one-shot you. So that's where our boy Edge comes in. So now the nice thing is we've got all the traps working how we want. But on top of that, we're getting Edge counters when he dodges. So we're actually getting a little bit of extra damage, and we still have Celis's ice blocks hanging around a little bit. I don't think Cloud of Darkness has them, but I think the ads still have them. Alright, yep, go ahead and delay me. That's perfectly fine. We'll take the big counters from Edge. And Edge counters do a lot of damage. Yeah, 1.7 mil there. Pretty darn good. And so we're pretty close to hitting the last threshold. Here's the other place where Edge is beautiful. So this threshold is going to do the same as the last one, where she's going to kill the ads, bring back the offensive ads, and she's going to AoE confuse us. The thing is if you're dodging, you also dodge debuffs. So Edge is going to allow us to completely dodge out this phase of confuse, and we don't get confused here. Now Edge does need the refresh. Like, we're going to be susceptible on this attack here, but they're buffing, right? So that's fine. They're going to buff, and then Edge now has the EX ready to go. So now I can kind of breathe another sigh of relief, like, alright, we're fine, we made it through that phase. It can be a little tricky kind of full upkeeping that. But the nice thing is because the enemies are aggressive, they're hitting you a lot, it does allow Edge's EX to build up where you can almost have 100% uptime on the dodging. And once again, Maria is kind of like my panic button, where if I'm worried about taking an attack and I don't have party-wide dodge, I can, whoever the character is, I would swap them for Rydia, and then pop her LB, right? I definitely took the dodge route on this fight, and it did work, but it did take me multiple tries, so this wasn't as clean as, like I said, doing the core Gladio setup. That was just really safe. I did that on my first try, was no problem. So I don't blame y'all for taking that strat. This is a hard fight. Alright, so gauge building up. Yep, dodging out that stupid attack that I hate. We'll take our 20%, so we'll have Edge counter. Yeah, and you can see Edge putting up some big numbers there. Hitting, you know, a mil plus AoEs on all those. Very good. Alright, and we're just about to get to that 29% threshold. Now, the ice blocks aren't doing a lot of damage. You notice it's like piddly damage. We're fine with that, though, because it's still pushing up the gauge. That's what the purpose is. I don't care if the ice blocks aren't doing damage. I'm just taking those 6%. We'll take those all day. It's going to make all of our other attacks do more damage. The double holy traps are good. We've done very well, too, to keep this within Minwoo's BT phase. Or, not his phase, but his BT buff is still up. You see we've got 3 turns on that still. So that's worked out really good. I also have my panic button calls that I can put freeze debuff down. So I just brought a lot of panic buttons just to make sure I'm always dodging this out, right? Alright, so I think probably on this turn or the next one, we should get to the next phase. And then that's kind of when we're just on the final push there. We got to kill those ads again, though, and they're a little bit pesky. Alright, so 29%. Here comes the next threshold. Luckily, we have Edge's buff up. So what's going to happen is they're going to try to AoE confuse us and flat out miss us. So we are not confused. So this is nice because now we have more control over our force time. We don't have to deal with those HP plus attacks. We can do what we want to do. Edge greeting them with a nice fat counter there. Very nice. Yeah, and I think even the ads have like 20 million HP. Like, it's crazy how much HP is in this fight. And the thing with the ads here is you have to kill the ads. Cloud of Darkness is not killable while the ads are out. So you got to make sure you kill them by the end here, right? So I'm trying to balance out my attacks, trying to hit them all. Do a lot of damage to everybody. You see our gauge didn't quite ramp up as high as we would have liked, but we still got plenty of time to ramp it up. The bad part is the ads now don't have ice block, and I don't dare bring in Celis right now to apply it. Because we want that dodge uptime, because now the ads, they're in aggressive attack mode, right? So they're going to be popping those lightning attacks, which are just direct HP damage attacks. So we got to be careful. But the traps do their thing, right? The traps be doing their work. Also, guys, I'm very hyped for Anniversary coming. That's something I haven't really touched on in this video, which this video is long enough. I've been able to pretty much touch on everything, but at the time I'm recording this, we're about a day or two away from the countdown celebration, and I just dropped a video on that as well, saying who I think are going to be on those mystery banners. So if you want to see, we've got 2 FRBT banners, 2 double FRBT banners dropping in like a day or two at the time I'm dropping this video. And I have a pretty good suspicion as to what those are going to be. I think there's 3 options I lay out in that video, and I think 2 of those 3 will be the banners. So if you want to find out who's on those mystery banners coming up, feel free to check out that video. Maybe I'll link it at the end here. But it's newly dropped on my channel. A lot of you probably already saw it anyways. Alright, so we're on the last turn. This turned out very fortunate for us because we're only at 500%, but the enemies are in a position where they're taking 1,000,000 turns. And you can see I did bring in Rydia to drop my panic button because we ended up, I think, in a situation where Edge wasn't going to give us AoE dodge, so I just had to play it safe there. Yep. And so luckily we still had the dodging there, which was good. And we're dropping a lot of good damage here, which is nice. And then when we get to Rydia, it's time to bring in our pinch hitter. Now, I did make a pretty big mistake here on this Enna Kros. And I actually did not use her LD, which her LD is definitely the button you usually want to press here. Okay, yep, see, we're starting to take damage there. Our dodge fell off from Rydia. You see, they burned through Rydia's buff very quickly, right? Because they're very aggressive. But we're at least getting the gauge to a decent level here. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our Enna Kros pinch hitter. Now, I do remember the EX also hits really hard. And you'll see me actually check the EX here. Because what I want is I want AoE damage. I want to hit like all the ads and everything. But I think kind of sort of Holy is the only attack that does that. Now, I read the EX and I saw like group attack. And I just saw the word group attack. I'm like, alright, I'm good. Let's try this. I thought this was going to be a group attack. But what it is, it's AoE, I think, Brave damage. But then the HP only went to Cloud of Darkness. So it was good. We did like a 10 mil shot there. But the LD would have done much more, and I maybe would have just targeted an ad or something instead. But it's fine. We did it. We got some damage. I did bring in, here's one of my other contingencies. I'm like, all right, I'm kind of in a weird spot here. I don't have my dodge up. Let's put a Setzer freeze up just to be safe here. And I'm like, all right, we kind of got to get Edge back out. Edge's EX is almost up. We maybe need to get Celis back to reapply traps. I'm just trying to figure out how to finish this thing off. Because really all I want to do here now is just get to one more FR. And I'm thinking it's going to be Rydia. Although Celis FR would have been fine here. Minwu FR. Like, I could have popped any of them. But I think I opted for Rydia. And I do think I take Minwu out and opt to go with someone else. Because now his BT effect's going to fall off. And he's going to lose double Holy Anchors. Although single Holy Anchors is still fine. Like, we still get damage on it, right? So now, it's literally, all I'm doing at this point is I'm just managing the fight to where I can survive. Is all I'm trying to do is, basically I'm going to rely on the freeze to get me through these attacks, get to Edge's next turn, and then get my dodging going again. It's really all I'm trying to do here. And then I know, through like previous runs that I've done, because I did one where I got board wiped like really late, and I'm like, well, screw it. I'm still going to just clear the fight, and I finished it with just my bench, and it was fine. So I know at this point, I've been in this situation before, and I know with half of my team, I can still finish the fight. So as long as I can stay alive with my full team, I know I'm going to finish it and do it in easier fashion. So I'm really more focused on just keeping Edge's buff up. And making sure that whether it's through a call or bringing in Rydia, that I just make sure I do not let them get an attack on me at this point. Is pretty much what I'm doing here. So now we're going to go back to... who do I go back to? I'm really thinking about it, right? But Edge is going to have the dodge, so I'm like, okay, do I want to reapply... Yeah, I think it was just, bringing in either Celis or Maria to reapply traps here. So I think I go LD here, because I'm trying to see... Yeah, because they don't have any of... They don't have any of the Magitech Ice blocks on, or at least Cloud of Darkness didn't, or whoever I checked there. So I think I go back to Magitech Ice block, because I'm pretty sure I have a couple uses. I got one left, but I think it was okay to use it there. And I was thinking about, do I do Runic? Okay, so I decided to do Runic. Oh, yeah, because I think Celis was, or no, they missed because they're, oh, that's right, they were too full of debuffs. That's why I didn't apply the traps there. I didn't have room for them. So I at least had Celis out, but yeah, I just decided to do that as like a filler attack. Because, yeah, their buff and debuff slots are full. And then even here, like, Cloud of Darkness has one rewritable one, but the ads are full. So I bring Rydia because I've got Vanille. Did I pop Vanille here? Yeah, I popped Vanille here because I'm like, I need room for these traps. See, I popped Vanille. It did do a little delay. But then now with Rydia, I think I can bring Celis back in and get my ice blocks back on. So it was nice to have that, you know, on-demand dispel there with Vanille. Definitely worked out. Okay, now I think we're back to Celis, and now we're going to get ice blocks back on. Yep. And I definitely wanted to, you know, get traps on while the ads are still going, because they're going to help me trigger, you know, everything up higher. And because they're in aggressive mode, doing Rydia's FR is going to be fine at this point, because they are all attacking. So every time they act, we are going to dodge. So now I'm just ramping myself up to my next FR, and we're going to prep to get Rydia out. And I think what my setup ends up being is Rydia Edge, and I do think I bring Minwu back, because with Celis' Freeze Dive out, I don't really have to have her back out. Now we're doing very weak damage there. Once again, I don't care. We just need to get the gauge up. We need to get everything going. Finally back to Enna Crow and can pull Enna Crow out. It took me a hot minute to get back to her. That's what happens if you don't have a summon immediately following up. It takes a while to get back to her. That's why I had to be like a little tricky there and use some calls and things. Now we got Rydia back, so I think, alright, Rydia's probably going to stay out the rest of the fight at this point. And I'm just going to let her operate her FR, and I think we kind of finish it off from there. Yeah, they can go through their force, but we're still in dodge mode here. We'll take our counters. And then, yeah, I think the moment I get to 100, we pop that Rydia force. I think we might be able to get it on her next turn. So I think the enemies are aggressive enough that they push our gauge up. Yeah, I just reapply smoke. That's kind of my filler move for Edge right there. Okay, and we got full dodge. We're good. Because they were in force time, that probably would have one-shot us had we not dodged out. So glad we had dodge active there. Bad breath. We'll just dodge that. We'll counter you back. Edge's counters are quite strong too. Edge is definitely he's a character I've always known is very good. But after this fight, I've just appreciated him even more. He was definitely a big factor in this fight. We didn't see him much early, but you see us very long second half. We definitely needed our boy. Now I think it's FR time. And this does also apply a debuff that makes them miss a lot. So even if even if Edge's buff isn't up, as long as their debuff is up, they have, I think, like, it's like a huge accuracy down. It might be 100% accuracy down. So they're going to miss us through Rydia's debuff also. So now we're, like, really safe here. And I still have Rydia LDs I can pop, so I got a lot of options here now. But now it's just like, yep, we're going to miss and take 50% every time. And we're going to follow you up with some big counters. So I do think, like, some iteration of, like, Rydia, Edge, and then, like, Minwu is probably my favorite setup for the Rydia team. And I think, did I remember to bring in Minwu here? Yeah, let's get that Minwu out. Or Maria. Maria works fine, too. Just any way to apply more traps. The enemies are pretty full, but they do have an overwritable buff slot, right? So I think it's Maria or Minwu has to come in here. Yeah, Minwu, and I decided to get Holy Anchors back. So now, we've got Magitech Ice Block going. Even though Celis isn't around, we got Minwu back. And then, yeah, this is kind of, I think, the final team we settle on here. And Edge, I'm just never sure what to do with this filler slot. Like, I want an LD, but I would rather have the gauge be higher. So, yeah, I do smoke again. That's my filler. I don't really see a lot of, you know, I didn't really use shock very much. I just preferred to, like, make sure that his personal dodge was upkept. His lock was on, all that stuff, right? So I figured, why not? And then, yeah, those lightning attacks, once again, those can be sneaky and definitely take you for some damage, right? So it's nice, once again, that we can just dodge out here. So that was pretty much my plan. We executed it here, and I was very happy to get through with this team setup. I like these characters, and I like these team builds quite a bit, right? Yeah, so I just was double checking. That does lower their hit rate, right? Because I think edge, you know, we do not have edge buff right now. So I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to use Rydia LD anyways. Like, I just wanted to take 0 chances. And I have 2 uses of her LD left. And I see the end of this fight coming very soon. So I'm like, yeah, let's just go for it here. But we would have dodged anyways from their debuff. I just wanted to be like, you guys don't realize how many attempts I've had to do on this fight, how much time I wasted all week trying to get this thing done. I just was taking 0 chances on this fight. 0 chances. We just needed to get this thing done. Alright, and then Minwoo is EX time here. Minwoo, I'm going to tell you this. Minwoo has been one of my probably MVP characters that, like, he's a character that going into the banner, I actually told people I wasn't going to pull for him. And then I decided last minute to just pull for him because he was a new character and I wanted to do character guide. And I have not regretted my investment on Minwoo. He has been so useful for these fights, and these double traps just work so well with so many FRs. Like, and it's off-turn feeling. Like, Minwoo is probably, you know, people will always talk about, like, what is, like, your most regrettable BT character, your most regrettable pickup. Well, this is the opposite. This is my most, like, grateful pickup of a unit I wasn't going to get is Minwoo. Very, very happy that I have him and that I've got him. You guys can let me know, do you have, like, a most grateful pickup, like a character that you kind of weren't gunning for, but you got maybe really lucky and then have used them quite a bit and really appreciated them? That's Minwoo for me. He's my most grateful pickup. Awesome character. Some of my more regrettable draws are back from the LD day when I went for Ignis and Porum LD. Or no, Palom. Palom, who was like pretty much the useless twin, the offensive one. I went like 500 plus tickets deep on both of those banners to get the LDs, and then like Ignis I have found use for, but going that deep for an LD only character back then probably wasn't worth it. And Palom, I'm like, I went into the banner just like, oh yeah, I've got a lot of tickets, I'll just throw a few for fun. I didn't want Palom, I wasn't going to use him, but I just thought he would be a fun character to have. And I did the thing where I went into Rage Mode, where I went like 100, then 200, and then I was almost getting mad. Like, alright, well, I'm just going to keep summoning now, because you need to give it to me, you owe it to me. And then, yeah, sure enough, like 580 tickets later, I didn't have it. So that's my most regrettable. But anyways, guys, there you go. We finished it off with the Rydia FR. Very happy that I got this fight done. Very happy I did it with this team. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Here are my team setups here at the end really quick, but you can see that's my Maria FR setup, and then we got the Rydia FR setup with the Enna Kro to pinch hit. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. We'll catch you all on the next one.